What's going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. It is Friday. This is Friday Night Live. We have a special Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi edition. I'm rocking my Journals Comics exclusive. Boom, there's the logo. Heroes Never Die Princess Leia shirt. Folks, you guys can cop one of these. The merch link to the official Journals Comics merch is below. But welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope everyone had a good week. I got to say what's up to some folks. X11, Raising Elm, Mikey, Travis, Spider Dude. Man, the early birds are here, folks. We're going to take a few minutes to get into the show today. Terry, what's going on, Terry? We got, as always, some updates and some announcements for the channel. And, of course, I'll say this a few times before we get into the topic. This is a full-on spoiler chat. If you guys have not finished watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, all 6 episodes, we're going to spoil it tonight, all right? So that's what this is all about. We're going to have an open-ended discussion. I want to hear your guys' thoughts and everything, okay? If you haven't watched it yet and you're okay, that's fine. But if you don't want to be spoiled, I recommend go and watch it now and then maybe come back. Maybe we'll still be here, right? CX, what's going on? Jacob's here. Lowbrow. John, what's up, John? So, folks, it's been a week. Crazy thing. I was running around to get here on time. My son had basketball on top of a million other things. I'm rushing home, and it's been over 100 degrees here again today. I don't have central air, and I usually get my plug-in air unit on before I go live to get some cold air running. It's on right now and needs to be, or I'm literally going to die here live on camera with you guys. So I hope you don't mind if you hear that little kind of engine running or air blowing in the background. That's what that is. And I do apologize, but I absolutely need it because it is so hot right now. It's probably well over 100 degrees in this room. So let's go through some announcements and some updates. Is that say Ian? What's going on, Ian? Okay, so I will be having, well, first up, we will be having Comic Book Canon this Sunday, 2 days away. We took last week off for Father's Day. Folks, come to the show this Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're not subscribed to us on Comic Book Canon, that link is below. We have an amazing special guest, Hunter Comics. One of my favorite people in this online comic book community. He does an amazing job at his channel. If you guys aren't subscribed to him, go do so. He makes great content. We're going to have him on this Sunday on Comic Book Canon, so I'm really excited for that show. He's a really good dude, and he brings a very unique perspective to this hobby, and I can't wait to see what he brings to Comic Book Canon. So that's 2 days from now, this Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Empire, what's going on? All right, so that's this Sunday, Comic Book Canon, featuring a special guest co-host, James Hunter Comics. All right, from there, Tuesday, my next Whatnot show is on Tuesday. It's going to be my final clearance summer clearance sale. You guys can go follow me on Whatnot, Journals Comics. The link is below if you guys are not signed up yet. If you use that link, you can save $10 off of your first purchase. I already cut and slashed all the buy it now prices, some of them close to half. So you guys can go check that out leading up into the show on Tuesday. Those buy it now prices will be available for you to purchase some books. Once we go live, everything's going to be put up for auction. All right, I got a lot of $1 to $2 stuff. I got a lot of new stuff coming in as well that I'm still adding to the sale over these next few days. But what I'm really excited about as well is I'm hoping to get to 1,000 subscribers next month in July. But whether or not I do, or excuse me, followers on the Whatnot app, even if I don't, I am rolling out my first ever Spider-Man live sale. And it's going to be massive. So that's going to be sometime in July. I've already been prepping books. Guys, I got a ton of books. I got a bunch in my room right now that I was pricing out. But, I mean, we got Web of stuff. We got Spectacular. A lot of Bronze Age stuff. and some amazing bronze. Oh, guys, can you see that? Sorry. Bronze Age Amazing Spider-Mans. High grade newsstand, late 80s, early 90s newsstand stuff. Got the first appearance of Arcade. Second appearance of Captain Britain for sale. Modern Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, wow. There we go. It's just, we got everything, guys. Marvel Team Up, Marvel Tales, Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, McFarlane Spider-Man, even Spider-Man tie-in stuff. So we have like some Avengers books, guest starring Spider-Man, some minor keys, some bigger keys. It's going to be going down. So look out for that. Sometime in July, I'll let you guys know when it actually goes live. And as always, there'll be a lot of stuff that you guys can purchase at Buy It Now prior to the show going live, which works basically like a pre-order. You get to secure it for that cover price, or excuse me, not cover price, but sticker price at the Buy It Now price. And I always make sure that my prices beat any of the major online retailers, folks. All right. So those are the updates to what's going on Whatnot. Peter, what's going on, Peter? Dan's hanging out. What's up, Dan? See, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. I am very sorry to hear that. I really hope that you can, get yourself back up real soon and just get out there and push. I know it's tough these days. I'm noticing there's a lot of different people hiring, though, just to get yourself into somewhere, maybe even if it's temporarily. But I wish you the best, sending you some positive energy. So I feel it, man. Absolutely. Holy crud. ASM 21. Raising Elm is going live tonight on Whatnot, guys. So go ahead and check Raising Elm out tonight after the show here. Raising Elm, leave the time and your information below so folks know when to go catch you over there. Viper, what's going on, Viper GTS? All right, any other updates? Room tour update. I'm still trying to get this room in order. It's going to happen soon, guys. It's going to happen this summer. I promise you that. And it's going to be massive. So, like I said, the room may not be as nice and tidy, as clean as I want it, but it's going to go down. All right. Let's see. Okay. I think that's about it, guys. Comic Book Canon Sunday. Whatnot sale, clearance sale on Tuesday, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. Keep a lookout for my first big Spider-Man sale coming in July on Whatnot. And other than that, I'm just here doing this every single day for you guys. If this is your first time hanging out and you're not subscribed, please do so. I make content almost every single day of the week, and I'm always here live on Fridays. But folks, let's get into it. I know this is different than what I usually do. And I mean, we usually have specific topics that are very much related to comic books. And I know that Star Wars and comic books are very much synonymous. But today, this is strictly Star Wars. This is strictly Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, and I really want this to be a two-way conversation tonight. We got the season finale on Wednesday. We've wrapped it up. It's been, I can't believe it's been 6 weeks already, and it's been a journey for myself watching it. There's been some up and down moments, I feel. But I'll tell you guys, overall, I loved the show overall, and that last episode had me emotional, man. So, yeah, Dan, I hear you. So, for all the Star Wars fans out there, let's get into this. I want to put a few things on the table of what I enjoyed about the show, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what my constructive feedback or my criticism, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts as well. So let's focus on the positives first. I mean, I think especially for Star Wars fans, I mean, we as comic book fans, we're never satisfied. Everyone's bickering about something, right? Same goes with Star Wars fans. Sometimes it gets so bad it could be toxic. But I'm the type of person that tries to be optimistic, look on the bright side, and say, you know, we can't have our cake and eat it too. I think when we're children, we don't have that. We're not conscious of the nitpicking and breaking these things apart. So I think it's easy for us to take in what we watched and viewed as a child and fell in love with it the way it was. And then that's why as we become adults and are still fans of these things, we critique so hard because it's never the same. It's never like for Star Wars, it's never the original trilogy. You know, it never will be. And I think we forget that if we were adults and we watched the new trilogy today, we probably have similar critiques of the original trilogy today that we do of all this other Star Wars stuff. But let's focus on some positives. Collecting Chaos, what's going on? Actual Dracula, what's up, man? Let's talk about the positives. The positives for me, the first thing that comes into my mind is seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin, Darth Vader, on screen again. Now, I know we've had our little taste of Darth Vader. You know, we had the little hallway scene in Rogue One, which was absolutely awesome. This was, for me, to see Ewan McGregor come back. Now, keep in mind, it's been 17 years since we saw Ewan McGregor. I know we saw Obi-Wan in Clone Wars, and I forget who voiced that, but he did a really good job sounding like Ewan's Obi-Wan. So it was almost like we watched Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan in animated form for many years there if we watched the Clone Wars. I've been way behind. I'm on season 5 right now. I've never watched the later seasons, so I'm doing it now. Yeah, Vader, man. So I love seeing Ewan McGregor back at Obi-Wan and building on that character. Seeing Hayden Christensen, I know a lot of the critique is, oh man, there wasn't enough of him. Like, we didn't really see him until episode 5 when we got those flashbacks. And I get it. You know, a lot of the show was drawn out for us to get to that point. But I think when we got to that point, it was a great reward and it was done amazing. Yeah, I mean, was the CGI, you know, how the de-aging CGI a little like, I mean, there was some moments there where I felt like there was no de-aging on Hayden's face at all, which made it a little interesting. But again, it's like, here we are nitpicking, right? I mean, come on, man. Let's focus on the overall story and adventure that we are being able to participate in. So we were right back there with them, you know, and seeing him as Vader for the most part and having James Earl Jones. And I'm sure they, you know, James Earl Jones being so old, I'm sure they computerized his voice, but it was James Earl Jones that still lent his voice to this role. And it's freaking amazing to know that they went that route and they brought Vader to life as they should. I think that young Leia was another huge shining spot in this series. Now, people have critiques saying, oh, it was too much about Leia or whatever, or needed to be more about Obi-Wan. Putting all that aside, this young actress, and I forget her name, boy, can she act. I want to see her in some other things. I don't even know if she's 10 in real life. She's so cute, so adorable. She killed it, man. And she really embodied Princess Leia. She really embodied Carrie Fisher as this young 10-year-old child Leia. And I thought it was absolutely well done. Well done. And then, you know, you look at the other cast. I know people had issues with the actor that played Grand Inquisitor and the way that he looked. Again, we're talking about aesthetics, but knowing that he came back and like him getting his revenge, like his dialogue in that last episode, you know, where he's standing with Vader, taking the pin off of Reva, the Grand Inquisitor pin off of Reva. I thought he killed it. It was dope. And then Reva got so much crap. And there's some critiques that I have about Reva. But overall, Moses Ingram, I think she did a really great job. You know, a lot of the critique was they introduced this new character. She's just mad and angry for no reason. Well, we went into this theater for a movie called Star Wars: A New Hope. It was called A New Hope originally, but you go into this theater in 1977, and you got this guy in this black suit with this mask, and he's breathing funny, and all he is mad, and he's walking around mad, and he's choking people with air. Like, come on, guys. We didn't know anything about Vader. We didn't know who he was or what his ambition was or any of that. So for that critique, I felt it was too early, because when we realized that she was a youngling and what her motivation was and what her intent was, I thought it worked extremely well. Extremely well. So I'm going to pause right there, and I want to see what some of you guys are saying. Actual Dracula, you can't critique how badass Vader was in the show. I'll get to that in a minute. X11, I don't know if I want to see that. Just like I wasn't a fan of seeing Leia use the Force to float through space in The Last Jedi. Oh my gosh. Dan says he's been away from Star Wars some time. This Obi-Wan series is a great way to get acquainted with the franchise again. Okay, yeah. Peter says, taking all things into consideration, the show was awesome. Seeing them together, seeing young Leia, young Luke, the busted mask with the mixed voices. Yeah, I'll get to that. We'll get to episode 6 Vader momentarily here. Yeah, man. See Axe. Man, he's got one of those voices, man. Yeah, E-Dub. We'll get to that. Actual says Obi-Wan going hard in the paint in the final battle. Absolutely. Peter says Qui-Gon. Let's see. Peter says Reba was great. Dark. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Darken Lord. Hi, Chris. How you doing? Doing well. Happy to have you here. Thanks for hanging out. The return of Master Qui-Gon. Absolutely. Let's see what Spider Dude has to say. I saw all the movies at theater since I was 6 years old. I will see anything they ever make. Sure, there might be some parts that I don't like. So for me, it brings the kid out in me. Yeah, great stuff, right? Let's see. Manny, the Hobgoblin Collector. Moses overacting was a bit over the top, and she definitely needed someone else to do her stunts. Her deflecting air. What are you talking about, deflecting air, Manny? The parkour that's the critique of mine I'm going to get to. That's not her fault. Her overacting, I wouldn't say, I don't think there's overacting. I wouldn't agree with that. I think it's understanding her ambition. I think it came off. I think when you saw her in episode 1, maybe even in episode 2, I could see how it could come off as overacting, kind of trying to do too much, but you realize her demeanor throughout the show, and it makes it work. Now, guys, keep this in mind. I went back and watched the whole season last night, back to back, all 6 episodes. I binge watched them back to back. So I have no problem or don't see any overacting. I do have a problem with the rooftop scene, but I don't know about the deflecting air. Let me know what you're talking about. I know in episode 5, right before she got stabbed by Vader, she was like hitting air, but that's because Vader was force stopping her lightsaber. But again, like, these are all little ridiculous critiques. We could go back to the original movies and find so much of this, so much of it, like the stormtrooper hitting his head and that not getting edited out, or, you know, I mean, the whole bad aim of stormtroopers. It wasn't supposed to be like, oh, well, stormtroopers just have bad aim. No, it was just so bad of, you know, putting that on screen in a live action to make our heroes be victorious. And over the decades, we just said, oh, well, stormtroopers just have bad aim. And we created this mythos to make it believable, when in actuality, George Lucas did a horrible job making our heroes invincible and never be hit by a laser blaster, right? So, let's see. Lightsaber scene when ship stops firing. All right, that might have been an editing issue. So, but like I said, I mean, we're nitpicking. We're nitpicking. That could have been a post-production issue that they just get caught. But I'm going to get to that. There were some editing and post-production issues that I had that I don't think necessarily is nitpicking. I think it's valid to bring up to address to Disney and Lucasfilms on how they can improve. I don't think she seemed lazy whatsoever. That's just a different opinion. Stiff, again, stiff. I can see that, but keep in mind, everyone that works for the Empire is stiff. Literally, Darth Vader is very stiff because he's mostly robot, right? Machine. But I'm not going to get behind the whole laziness of it. I thought actually when some of the dialogue didn't hit me right, I thought she actually stood above that in some of her scenes. But I think overall, like I said, it took a while for us to understand her energy in her dialogue, and I think we judged too soon, in my humble opinion. Still don't know how she survived the lightsaber through the gut. It's a valid critique, but then again, I mean, how do people survive getting their arms and legs chopped off by lightsabers? This is Star Wars, guys, and it's nothing new. You want to know how I believe she survived it? Because Vader knew that he wasn't hitting any vital organs, and lightsabers are so hot that they cauterize wounds. They cauterize the wound. And that's how they could survive, because it stops the bleeding almost initially. So in order for you to die, you have to hit a vital organ. You have to hit them straight through the chest or into their lungs or something like that, or straight into their intestines and completely mutilate their intestines. But if it was just a flesh wound going through the side of the stomach, then it's easy to explain that the wound cauterized and she didn't bleed out. So, but again, guys, I mean, let's not let these little tiny things. So these little tiny things are going to take away from looking at the actual character build up, the interaction of the characters and the story that plays out and the emotion behind all that. Yeah, writing and editing definitely, I think, is where a lot of the errors came in. X11, you can't have a cape and not fly. Yeah, I know. She didn't have a cape, huh? Sicko, what's going on? Sickotron, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. The show was tucked very neatly into canon. Yep, I believe it. Spider Dude says out when the prequels came out in 1999, I was excited because it was the first Star Wars since 1983. Those movies were hated at first by some people I grew up with. The younger generation loved it. Still to this day. And we're going to talk about the prequels in a little bit here, folks. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, how did Darth Maul survive? I mean, he was chopped in half. He doesn't have, I mean, how does he go to the bathroom? I mean, seriously. So, I mean, this is Star Wars, guys. It's Star Wars. We can't get wrapped up in the silly stuff. So I want to finish up on the positives. And a lot of the positives, first off, the last 2 episodes were absolutely amazing in my humble opinion. The way that the way that Obi-Wan and Darth Vader faced off was a masterpiece in my humble opinion. I think it fit perfectly with seeing how they last left Mustafar in Revenge of the Sith. And I loved that Obi-Wan, when he breaks the helmet and he sees Anakin's face and he can look into his eyes. And I love that we as the viewer see Hayden. You can see Hayden. So it's like, so we actually see Anakin to us as fans, how we know him. And to see the sorrow from the empathy and the sympathy and the love that he had there for his friend, for his brother, and walking away the way he did, that just, I mean, man, it was masterful. Absolutely. And like, I forget who said it, but the way that they had the voice modulator go in and out, and you heard Anakin, you heard Hayden, his voice mixed in with the modulated James Earl Jones voice. It was absolutely just riveting and amazing. I mean, I could watch that last episode. I'll be watching probably those last 2 episodes multiple times for days to come, weeks to come. I think those last 2 episodes, but especially that last episode, are definitely some of the best Star Wars that we've ever seen since the original trilogy. And I talked about this with Jeff on Comic Book Canon before the show came out, after we got the first trailer. I said, Jeff, in audience, I said, I believe this show can be the best Star Wars that we've seen since the original trilogy. Moving through the first 4 episodes, I didn't feel that way. And I'm not saying I hated the show. I was still enjoying it overall. But I just didn't feel it was living up to my expectation. But after the last 2 episodes, I feel like you could fairly argue that. So I was very happy with how the show ended. Absolutely happy with how the show ended. And then, of course, the way after that, when we saw I loved how they set everything up with Obi-Wan telling young Leia about Padme and Anakin, and how that kind of corrected canon with some things, and about how he went back to Tatooine and was introduced. Owen's like, do you want to meet him? And he says, hi there, and then boom. Just all those little things were so perfectly orchestrated and absolutely well done, in my humble opinion. So Terry says, I thought they did great with the show, but I don't. Okay, we'll talk about season 2 in a minute here as well. The only thing that bugs me is how Obi-Wan is supposed to go from this Obi-Wan to a New Hope Obi-Wan in 10 years. 10 years, but still 8-10. I mean, it's just 2 years. Yeah, 10 years from this. Again, X11, I wouldn't get caught up on those little things, Yeah, right. I mean, okay, look, Alec Guinness birthday. So Alec Guinness was he was born in 1914. That movie came out in 1977. He was 63. Alec Guinness was 63. Now remember, guys, a 63-year-old today, they got makeup and Botox and plastic surgery, Hollywood actors. Alec Guinness, so that Obi-Wan X11 was 63 years old in real life. How old is Ewan McGregor? 51. So technically, the aging is almost perfect. It's off by 2 years. In 10 years, Ewan McGregor will be 61. So it's only a 2-year difference. So there you go. Batman says, hit the like button, folks. Thank you, Batman. Glad that you're here today. I hope you're not missing out on the Joker, doing any crazy stuff in Gotham tonight. Louis Logics. Oh, yeah. Cried loud, was on the edge of my seat. That's awesome. Glad to hear. Darkin, let's see. E-Dub says, the show confirms they don't really need Theracho. Well, we're going to get to that. I do agree, EW. I agree, but there's a problem there. X11. That's settled. Yeah, and when we're kids, older people look older, right? It's crazy. So, okay. We got a few things. We're talking about season 2 and then movie. We don't need movies. We can do this in a series. But let's get to more of the critiques now. And I'm going to bring up, so let's go back to Reva's critique of her motives. I think it's very simple that how it played out. And I don't think there's much to discuss there, at least for me. I've already stated that. I understand why people were a bit maybe, like I said, it came at them too hard. You don't really understand her motives. It's fine. But we got to remember, we're watching a movie play out, seeing a little small clip of it every week. So it makes us sit with a cliffhanger of wondering for this whole week. And then that's where we start to overanalyze things. But if you guys watch this show back to back to back, it makes a lot more sense. And Reva's character arc is a lot smoother. It's a lot smoother watching it play out all together, and it makes a lot more sense. All right. Another thing is that Vader knew from the beginning that Reva was trying to betray him. He knew that she was the young Padawan. And a lot of people felt like, oh, Reva's a Mary Sue. And I hate that name just because she's a woman. I don't. But people were like, oh, she's just like, who is she? She's OP'd, overpowered, and she just all of a sudden gets crowned Grand Inquisitor. Oh, she kills the Grand Inquisitor that easily. That breaks canon. Well, he's not dead. And she gets the pin from Vader. Vader was playing her the whole time. Remember in episode 3, she goes to Vader on the projector and he tells her, I know what it is you seek. And he's saying that playing into the fact that, oh, she wants to be Grand Inquisitor. No, he's playing her saying, I know what it is you seek. You want to betray me. You want to get close to me, betray me. He was playing her the whole time, and it makes sense after the fact, right? Raising up, check your IG messages. Will do. If he knew, why would he put her in charge of getting Obi-Wan? Because he knew that she wanted to get to Vader at all costs. And by getting to Vader, so Vader used her. Vader wanted Obi-Wan. That's why. And he knew that Reva would stop at nothing to get Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan was her way of getting to Vader. So it was like kill two birds with one stone for Vader. Very easily to explain. So, moving on from Reva, though. Let's see. People were like complaining. Oh, so Reva captures young Leia and then puts a tracker in her droid Lola, and they're like, what? Why would she know to put a tracker? Because remember, Reva was using Leia trying to get information out of Leia, telling her that Obi-Wan was dead. Reva knew Obi-Wan wasn't dead. Reva knew that they were going to come for Leia. So I think you can easily say Reva did that as a backup plan just in case they came for Leia, because she knew that the tracker would be with Obi-Wan regardless. So it was just a backup to say, I'm going to know where Obi-Wan is, no matter the cost, because that was her end game and that was her goal. But again, it's like we're sitting here nitpicking all of this little stuff. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about somebody brought up, this shows that they don't need to do live action movies, a full-length feature film. Yeah, absolutely. Spider Dude, she knew that was Vader's weakness. Yep. Yep. Exactly, Peter. And look, no, Vader wasn't wrong, because Vader ended up getting exactly what he wanted. He caught Reva, and he got to Obi-Wan. He just failed. His arrogance, just like Obi-Wan said in the flashbacks, your will to win blinds you, or whatever, so Vader got what he wanted, and what he wanted backfired on him, because the ways of the Jedi seem to always win over the ways of the Sith. Okay, why did Reva want to kill Luke after getting almost killed and left for dead by Vader? I'll tell you why right now. Grand Inquisitor comes in and says, what was the line that Grand Inquisitor said? The will to live, or revenge. Revenge is a driver for the will to live, right? Something like that. Revenge is the best driver for the will to live. So Grand Inquisitor said this speaking on for him, because she left him for dead, and he wanted revenge on her so bad that his will to live, to seek out revenge, kept him going. But in that moment, Reva was dying, or hurt really bad, and took that, saw the little message about Luke, and so her revenge was hurting the thing closest to Anakin Skywalker, his son. If she can't get to Anakin, or even to Obi-Wan, because she blamed Obi-Wan for Anakin killing all the younglings and doing what he did to her, the closest revenge she could get was killing his son. Why did they let her live? I believe, and this is a valid question, I believe they let Reva live because the Sith are egomaniacs. They're megalomaniacs, right? Their need to manipulate for power. Letting Reva live fed into their megalomania. It's easy to have killed her. It's too easy for Vader to kill her. For him, he can know that he can walk away from her knowing that she's sitting there defeated. And that's why he walked away. That's my take. If you understand lore and you understand the motivation that drives these characters, I mean, we have the original trilogy, we have prequels, we have extended universe, whatever you want to believe to be canon, explaining the drive of Anakin, and they explain more of that in this film, especially with the flashbacks and with the Vader and Obi-Wan fight, and just seeing where Anakin's head is at as Vader. And it's easy to sit and say that he got more out of, there was more megalomania, narcissistic, power-driven hungriness by letting her live rather than just simply killing her, because she meant nothing to him. She was a weak nothing. It doesn't matter that Vader doesn't know Luke. It doesn't matter that Vader doesn't know Luke. For her, that was her way of revenge. Yep. I mean, like Spider Dude says, just a deep hatred for Skywalker. I mean, straight to the point. Yep. Okay. I mean, you can believe if his decisions are dumb. That's all good. Okay. All right. Moving on. Oh, Ian brings up a good. Is Reva now a gray Jedi going forward if there is a sequel? Very valid question. I wouldn't necessarily call her a Jedi because she never finished her Jedi training. She was a youngling. So, but maybe, I mean, that's a very, very good point. I'm not stretching at all. If I'm stretching, you're stretching. This is fictional sci-fi. You know, fill in the blanks however you want and believe whatever you want to believe. I'm not going to get into a heated discussion over it. It's not that serious. It's Star Wars. This is what I don't get about Star Wars fans. Stop being so fickle. If you want to hate it, if you want to fill in the blanks with things that justify your reason to hate it, fine. I'm not going to change your mind. I enjoyed the show, and everything doesn't need to be spelled out for us. Do we need to be spoon-fed? No. If there were holes, fill it in however you want to fill it out. Fine with me. I'm not going to sit here and argue about it and get all serious about a freaking science fiction Disney TV show. So, moving on. Exactly. She had a fate worse than death. Failure is not an option for the dark side of the Force. Spider Dude, you should be here on the show with me today, man. I mean, you know your stuff. That's what I'm talking about. And it's if you understand lore, Star Wars lore, Spider Dude's spitting it. I already discussed how I feel she survived the lightsaber stabbings. How did Darth Maul survive getting chopped in half by a lightsaber? I already talked about that. Lightsabers cauterize wounds, and if he didn't hit any vital organs, she easily lived because there was no bleeding. There was no bleeding out. All right, so let's talk about it being a TV show and how we felt that went. Somebody said, "Oh, this shows that they don't need a full-length feature film," right? While I agree with that, I think there was many flaws in them making this a series. I think there was many flaws. One, editing and CGI and different writers and budget. Editing, CGI, different writers and budget. Andrew Stanton, who I know, guys, you want to hear something? I used to, when I lived in Richmond, I used to commute over the bridge. You go over the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge into Marin County. Marin County is north of San Francisco. Sausalito is there. It's a tourist place. Marin County is one of the richest counties in the United States. I used to work over there because they paid more. I'd commute. I worked at Starbucks. And Andrew Stanton lived in the town that I worked in. And he used to come into Starbucks every day and used to get a grande soy vanilla latte. I still remember his drink. I would make it for him and his wife every day that they'd come in. We talk shop. Back then, he was doing all of his Toy Story stuff. And I remember when he won his first Academy Award, his first Oscar for, I think it was Toy Story 2, maybe. But really cool guy, really talented guy. And they brought Andrew Stanton in to co-write the last 2 episodes, and it showed. It absolutely showed. I think that Disney thinks that I don't know what it is, but it's Disney. I wanted to see Disney put more money into this than they did, whether it's money or time. The editing was choppy at certain points. I think it was episode 5 where somebody was doing a lightsaber duel, or I think it was when they were holding off the stormtroopers, and a lightsaber went up, and then it cut, and it didn't feel right. It felt like something needed to finish, or they should have cut early and they cut too late. And then it went to this quiet scene of, I think, Obi-Wan and Leia in the ship. There was also the editing and the dialogue. I felt at times there was too much silent air. So in the down moments where there was very low dialogue or a calm dialogue, or the demeanor and the energy wasn't in the action-packed moments, there was conversations that had a lot of dead air. That's the word I was looking for. Dead air in between them. I felt that could have not only saved time, but I think it took away from our attention into the characters. And it was better watching it a second time, but I still feel like there was a lot of dead air that could have been sewed up. Another thing that I had a problem with was the music. And this ties in with editing. Now, keep in mind, John Williams didn't do the score. John Williams did compose the Obi-Wan theme. I felt that the Obi-Wan theme was underutilized for, I could say, the first few episodes, but more importantly, episode 4, right? Where he meets, was that episode 4, episode 3? Oh my goodness. When does Obi-Wan get burned? Maybe that was episode 3. I watched them all and binged them, so they're all running together. When Darth Vader comes into town and kills the family, and Obi-Wan's hiding, and then he finally comes out in the fire, and Leia's running through the rebels tunnels. I think the music in that episode was very underutilized, because remember, music drives the emotion. And what John Williams does, especially through all of his Star Wars projects, that music drives the emotion in every moment that we see these characters on screen. Whether it's a peaceful moment, a loving moment, a calm moment, an anxious moment, an action moment, a horrific moment, he knows how to get in there and drive that emotion. And I felt that lacked. And I don't know if this had to do with Stanton coming in with some of the writing, or them just playing on the climax of the story. If you look at the last 2 episodes, the music really pulled in the emotion more over those last couple of episodes. And it really brought me into like being on the edge of my seat watching this more than some of the earlier episodes. So I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I'm gonna give one. I'm gonna say it one more time. Kenshi, you already know how it is. I ain't gonna get mad at you for having different opinions, especially on art that's subjective. But you already know what gets you in trouble, and I'm gonna tell you right now. One more, and I'm done, man. I'm done. I'm done. So back to what I was saying. Music definitely drives emotion, and they really utilize that Obi-Wan theme that John Williams did, man. That's the John Williams magic. That is the John Williams magic. Another thing about the editing and aesthetics of these TV shows, I think when they go, if you look at Mandalorian and you look at Boba Fett, and now you look at the Obi-Wan show. There's too much westernized. And when I say westernized, I don't mean Western culture. I mean westerns, the genre of westerns. There's too much westernized music theme behind whenever whenever we see the little villages. It worked in Mandalorian because Mandalorian is like he's like an outlaw. He's like a Wild Wild West outlaw, right? And that theme music had that Western twang. The Mandalorian theme, dun, 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 it had that Western twang, and it worked perfectly. Well, they kept that theme with Boba Fett. And I get it. I mean, because still, you got a lot of similarities. And I look at the Boba Fett season 1 as being basically Mandalorian 2.1, season 2 2.0, or something like that, part 2. I didn't like the vibe of the music when they initiated the show going into Tatooine and having this like Western soundtrack behind it, because it to me, it doesn't feel like Star Wars. You know what it feels like? Firefly. It feels like Firefly. And while Firefly was a great show, it was a great show. It's not Star Wars. I don't want to watch Star Wars and feel like I'm watching Firefly. And they're using kind of that same film aesthetic where it does, I mean, at times it's not the soap opera aesthetic. It's not, but it's definitely television aesthetic. When we know now that just because it's a TV show, they can use theatrical film aesthetic and lenses on their cameras. They got the budget to do that. They do it when they go into space for the most part. If you notice, when they were on, I forget what planet it was, but, after Obi-Wan got Leia and then the Grand Inquisitors were coming after them, and what was that? Episode 2, right? The lens aesthetic and the photo filter were completely different. It was a completely different lens that they used than whenever they were on Tatooine. I don't like that. You got to keep it Star Wars to me. I want to see what some folks have to say just about what I've been rambling on. Get your guys' points of view here. Almost every main character in Star Wars. Leia has a theme song. Luke has a theme song. Mandalorian has a theme song. Anakin has a theme song. And Padme has a theme song. They all have their own songs. And now Obi-Wan does as well. I mean, we can have our negative opinions on the show, but we know where not to take it. That's all I got to say. What the music won Oscars for Star Wars? Yeah, John Williams is just freaking one of the greatest composers ever. EW says, but is it Star Wars a space western? I would argue no. Star Wars is a space opera. And if you ask George Lucas, that's what he would say. So I would say no. I would say Firefly is a space western. Star Wars is a space opera. Nathan says they did a lot of Western stuff in the Visions anthologies too, but Star Wars has always been a space Western Ronin fantasy thing. Again, I don't know. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have those components, but I mean, has that come out of Lucas's mouth himself? I don't know that. I'm honestly asking the question. Draken says, I believe what made Obi-Wan so powerful at the end of episode 6 is he is drawing on the light side of the Force through love and attachment for Luke and Leia, like dark side channels anger. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Normally, Jedi don't have attachments, so they can't reach that state. Very good point. Firefly was amazing. Love the show. Love the Serenity film as well. Episode 2 had a different director. Yeah. Raising Hell, Firefighter's Flyer. Let's see what Dale says. But can we talk about the scene with Vader and his helmet broken talking to Obi-Wan? My God, that was so awesome. Just ice cold Vader. It is. And like I said, I mean, it showed the humanity come through the Vader suit. We saw Anakin. We looked into Anakin's eyes, and we knew that Obi-Wan did too. And it brought so much emotion to life. And it built on everything that we've already known to be with these characters and their story. And it was absolutely amazing. Some of the best Star Wars moments, hand down, was right there in that moment. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The first cut to Vader in the tank in the early episodes was haunting. And I love, here's the thing too. I really love the intro to this series with the younglings, with the Jedi trying to help the younglings. And we realized that little Reva was there. Little Reva was there, and we didn't know that until what, episode 5? This is a good point, Louis Logics. People forget that Tatooine has multiple suns, which will age you faster, like folks who live in the desert and don't use sunscreen. I love it. I love it. Yeah, Nathan, I think referring to George Lucas, drawing inspiration. Yep. And I know Dune in terms of just sci-fi storytelling. Dune was a huge inspiration to George Lucas as well. Raisin M, we'll see you later. Have a good show tonight. All right, folks, let's talk about it being so I talked about some issues of it being a series. I you know, there were some scenes where you knew they were on a set, and some of the CGI was just bad. I would have rather seen George Lucas's models, you know, the flying, you know, them using the little models, than some of the ship CGI. It was just bad. And Disney, I mean, like, you got the money, spend it. So here's the thing, though. I counted the total runtime, and I don't mean runtime with credits and everything. The actual show from the beginning of each episode to the end without intro and credits was 214 minutes, guys. That's 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours this show was. If you sit here and take out all the previously on Obi-Wan and then the little introductions every show, 3.5 hours. Endgame was over 3 hours long. Could we cut out 45 minutes of this 6-episode show and make it a 2-hour and 45-minute film? I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are, because here's the thing. While I agree that we do not need a full-length film for these stories, if Disney and Lucasfilms is not going to take the proper time and put the proper budget in for editing, for CGI, for just for the lenses that they're using to film, to create that high quality Star Wars aesthetics that we're used to, then I don't want them as a Disney Plus show. If we got a solo show, Obi-Wan, I mean, this show didn't need to be called Obi-Wan. It could have been Star Wars episode 7. Episode 4. This could have been Star Wars episode 4, and A New Hope could have been episode 5, and then continued it there. This was the continuation of the Star Wars saga. It continued the story of all the characters. This could have been a film that could have done all the editing and budgeting right. And like I said, a lot of that dead air, they could have summed it up. While I appreciate the first couple of episodes because we got to know where Obi-Wan was at this point in time in his life. We understood his PTSD. We understood that he was not right with the Force, or even with himself. We got a little backstory of young Leia. That's great. I mean, how long was that running through the woods scene? That was probably the most, out of this whole show, the most ridiculous scene was a little 10-year-old girl running through the woods and those grown men not being able to catch her. And they ended up catching her anyways. That was what? 4 minutes that didn't, I mean, cut that out. Like, they could have been like, hello there. And she could have ran, and the guy could have popped out and grabbed her right there. There you go. Boom. Done. Save 4 or 5 minutes. I think they could have easily took 5 or 6 minutes off of each episode, or maybe even a few more off of the first few episodes. And that means 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there, if they did better editing. And they could have cut this movie down to 2 hours and 45 minutes and made it a full-length film. I'm going to see what you guys have to say about that. I'm going to look at runtimes. We're going to look at runtimes. Star Wars: A New Hope runtime. Okay. So, I think the first film was the shortest, 1 hour and 45 minutes. Empire Strikes Back was 2 hours and 4 minutes. Okay. Return of the Jedi was 2 hours and 11 minutes. Phantom Menace was 2 hours and 16 minutes. They're all getting longer. Attack of the Clones was an even 2 hours. And episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was the longest at 2 hours and 20 minutes. But then The Last Jedi was the longest at 2 hours and 32 minutes. So I don't think it's that far-fetched. Knowing what Marvel's been doing with their formula too, having 2.5 hour plus films. I mean, Eternals was almost 3 hours long. Elch, Ice Cube Jr., yeah. I think he did a great job. And I don't know if he'd get his own show. I don't know if they could make it work though. Trev, what's going on, Trev? Thanks for popping in. Marvel Dakota, Disney doesn't want your movie ticket money. They want your ongoing monthly Disney Plus subscription money. That's what it's all. And that, hey, that makes sense. But look at what HBO's Max is doing. Why not a feature-length film straight to Disney Plus? But I'll answer my own question. Why? Because people could sign up for 1 month and drop it. At least a 6-episode series will keep people's subscription for more than 1 month, right? That could be their way of thinking as well. Yeah, Flea and Lachey Jr. O'Shea. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think about them making this into a feature film. And if that would have taken away from it, even with this flaws, it wouldn't have been right. You think they were doing it right, doing what they did? Knowing that it was 3.5 hours long and knowing what they would have to shave off, what do you think would be the proper time frame? Do you think that they could have shaved time off and still made this work? Or do you feel that Disney just simply needs to put more time and money into budgeting these shows properly? And I'm going to say one more thing of what I think could be seen as a problem, but it might just be on us after I see if you guys have a little bit of a response to exactly what I'm saying here in your thoughts on if that would be something that could work. No thoughts on just it being a film? Spider Dude. I think Star Wars has always worked better with the delay between movies or episodes to bring in more excitement. Nathan says, I think it would be so different for feature length. I think 2 hours, 45-minute length would have had to be a very different plot. Even the 6-episode season didn't do well with character development. I don't know, Nathan, if I agree with that. Respectfully, of course. I understand. I do. I understand. You got to look at time constraints and plot. I do get that. But let's look at character development. The 3 main characters in this show are Leia, Obi-Wan, and Anakin / Darth Vader, right? We have Owen. We don't need any more. We don't need, he did what he did. We have Reva is the biggest one. The Grand Inquisitor, and then we had Tala, right? Okay, so we already have character development for the main characters. We know Leia. All we need to build on is her backstory as a child. We know Obi-Wan. We just got to build on the emotion of where he's at right now. And same with Anakin / Darth Vader. I think it was perfectly fine the way they did that. I actually felt they did a good job with Reva's character development. I actually think it took too long for them to get to it. I think they had too much time for us to understand Reva. And I think that's why people were critics of her, because they were like, oh, look, she's just angry and she's just OP'd and all this stuff. So I would disagree with that with Reva in the main characters. I don't think the Grand Inquisitor, he's a position. He's a position head. We don't need his backstory at all. And if you watched the animated films, you have more of that backstory. So that's already there. Tala, and I don't think we need, Tala was Tala. I mean, maybe we could have understood more on how she got into her position of being the spy. But I don't think it's, then you end up being in a position where you get an Eternals film, right? And you just get too many cooks in the kitchen. and it suffers from having to tell a backstory from all these characters. I think the Eternals tried to make every single character a main character in that film, and it shouldn't have been that way. Every one of these characters doesn't need to be a main character that has this drawn out backstory. So I don't know, and that's just my personal opinion, of course, but I like your take, Nathan, still, but I don't know. I thought that the character development actually was decent, and they did just enough with the new characters for us to say, okay, it makes sense. I'm not too emotionally attached to them outside of Reva, and I think they did an absolute job with Reva, because at the end, that end scene where she couldn't kill Luke, and she brings him back, she's on her knees crying, and Obi-Wan confronts her and says, now you have a choice. I thought it was perfect. I thought her story arc came full circle, and we get it. Can she? I'll say this is probably the most valid thing that I think you said today. Why doesn't Leia show more emotion when Obi-Wan dies in A New Hope? And I think the easiest thing is that this was not planned. Her having a deeper connection with Obi-Wan. But again, it's like, I don't know. I have to go back and watch Star Wars A New Hope again for the millionth time and just look at her emotion. Maybe she was, I don't know. But again, I mean, look, we're nitpicking here. It's just a minuscule complaint of trying to fit everything into canon. So would you rather have not had an Obi-Wan show building on the characters that we already love, just because maybe you understanding her emotion that happened in an original film is maybe kind of is off now? Nah, I'm good with seeing these moments with these characters that we love. I'm good with getting this new material. Yeah, Nathan. Again, this is a very valid disagreement we have. I think she was developed well. I think she was developed extremely well. I thought her motives were clear. I thought her redemption was clear. And I think it plays right into the whole Star Wars lore, to the whole foundation of what George was, the dark and the light, the very simple yet deep-rooted dark and light. She's force sensitive. She was a youngling, and she allowed fear and hate and revenge to get to her, and we didn't know why for a couple of episodes, and then we finally do. I think her motivation was extremely valid and extremely clear, and when I saw her redemption on that final episode, I loved it, and it made sense. So that's just me. I believe that her character development was on point. Nathan, you say I didn't hate her character though, and that's absolutely fair. If this is following Revenge of the Sith, and I am assuming so, Disney missed out on my money big time by not making this the next movie. And hey, yeah, I mean, I think it's valid. It's valid to see it from that perspective. And I think Nathan's does bring a good point. Well, would we have seen a completely different plot, and how would that have been handled? But so we can't sit and say it would have been better as a movie. We can't sit and say it was better as a show. We'll never know. But I think at the end of the day, Disney has to learn that they need to put the money and resources into this stuff, because as good as this show was, even with its flaws, fixing some of the CGI and the editing and the choppiness would have made this just even more amazing. And I don't think it would have took much for them to do that. Yeah, Nathan, the too much time, maybe that didn't sit well, and it's creating that perception. I don't know. I think we could have gotten more of her backstory sooner, but then it would have kind of ruined the surprise, right? So it's very interesting how that all played out. I think a movie would have had to focus a lot on Reva at the beginning before we, yeah, and that this is what I was just saying. We would have had to get more of Reva. Yes, yes. So here we agree on this. Focus a lot more on Reva at the beginning before we even kidnap Leia, so we understand who Reva is and why she's doing what she's doing. Very good point. Very good point. Yep. And then that would have cut into the backstory of Obi-Wan necessarily and his PTSD and so forth. So, but I mean, hey, maybe the kidnapping of Leia wasn't so drawn out. Maybe it happened later and it was a short-lived thing that brought Obi-Wan and Reva together to then get straight to that. Oh shoot, Vader's alive. But you're out to get him. You want revenge. You were a youngling, and maybe that kind of hit head on. Very, very interesting perspectives there. Trev, yeah, about Eternals, yep. Marvel Decoded. I stated this earlier. I think it's because Anakin's ego and narcissism wanted her to suffer, to know that she faced defeat. And I think it was Spider Dude that said it perfectly. It would have been too easy for him to kill her. It stroked his ego and his narcissism and his megalomania to allow her to live in her defeat. I don't think so, Peter. I don't think so. And if you guys watch Star Wars Theory, he's a really good. I don't watch a lot of YouTube channels, especially a lot of stuff outside of comics because it's so toxic, to be quite honest. Star Wars Theories is a good channel. Great, the amazing success that he's had. And he said, as long as Vader lost, it doesn't take Vader's line out of context. Last time we met, you were the master and I was merely the student or whatever. Now I am the Vader lost. He lost. Obi-Wan schooled the hell out of him. So I don't think it changed that. And I don't think Leia's line is changed either, because she knows Obi-Wan by Obi-Wan. Remember, especially 10 more years later, Obi-Wan goes by Ben, and he's went by Ben ever since Order 66. Only a few people that remember him from prior to Order 66, prior to the Empire, know him as Obi-Wan. And Leia knows him as Obi-Wan because of her meeting him. And remember, he was like, my name's Ben. And she was like, stop lying. So, and then he told her the truth. My name is Obi-Wan, and I'm a Jedi, and I know I was sent here by your father. In the message, she says, help us, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope. I know you fought with my father along the Clone Wars, and we need your help. Help us, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope. So how did she know that his name was Obi-Wan and not Ben? So I don't think it really changes much of anything there. Oh, I like this too, Spider Dude. Vader willed Reva to live, showing his control. Nice. That's a good one. Okay, mods, I do want to look. I'm gonna be very clear. And Kenshi, I'm gonna let you know, man. And I want you mods to know to here too. I don't care if somebody is in the comments crapping all over the show. If they hated the show, they hated the show. If they think it was lazy, they think the music was crap, they thought the Vader scene was crap, that's fine. The line, and I gave Kenshi, I gave him a warning because of where we've been in the past. If you bring up anything that has to do with attacking somebody merely because of their gender or their race or their religion or how they vote, you're getting blocked, period. And not just muted, but blocked. And I will block you. Not you as in one person, but anybody. So I want to let all the mods know from right now. I'm setting the tone. Let's allow everyone to have the opportunity that is here right now to be negative all I want about the show. But if it has anything to do with those things that I just said, I'll handle it. Reva flashbacks could have worked as well. Yep. Louis says, another reason I shouldn't comment. Oh, I think Louis Logix was behind. And I saw Louis and Nathan going back and forth. Yeah, and I like what Louis Logix said here because, and that's what I said at the beginning of the show. As adults, it's easy for us to nitpick stuff, and we have a biased perception of what we viewed as a kid because we were kids and we soaked it up differently. So. When I left you, I was merely the student and you were the master. Yeah, I mean, it means when he left for the dark side. Yeah, you're right. Okay, Peter, that makes sense. But I think what we need to do is, well, okay, actually, no, because Peter, you just actually answered your own argument. Because if he's referring to when he left him and went to the dark side, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, let me see. Let me think. Okay, so it still rings true then, because when I left you and went to the dark side, I was the student and you were the master. I met it with you again as Vader, and you kicked my ass. But now I'm telling you, the last time you saw Anakin, you were the master. You've defeated, but now I'm the master because I got 10 more years of the dark side, Sith Lord, whatever in me. I don't know. So, it's all, here we go. We're picking apart the tidbits. All right, let's see. Sicko says, why would we be negative? Well, maybe some people just really didn't enjoy the show, but Marvel Decoded said, I love the finale and think Obi-Wan should always defeat Vader. Obi-Wan taught him everything he knows. And Marvel Decoded, you're right. Vader never defeated Obi-Wan. Even when Obi-Wan was ready to become one with the Force, Obi-Wan wasn't defeated by Vader. Obi-Wan allowed Vader to strike him down, and just like you said, strike me down, and I will become more powerful than you can ever imagine, or than ever before. So you're right. Vader never defeated Obi-Wan, at least to our knowledge. Fat Dad. Episode 1, 5, and 6 were great. Not a fan of 2, 3, and 4. I agree with that. Well, I'd put 4 in there. 4 picked up the energy for me and went right with 5 and 6. Obviously 5 and 6 were better, but I hear you. 2 and 3 for me especially were just kind of drawn out and lacking, in my humble opinion. But I thought episode 1 did do a good job with really fleshing out where Obi-Wan was in his life. Reva's acting was, where did that go? Reva's acting was bad. Sicko. I don't know what's going on here, but you kind of spam in the chat. Please, let's not spam the chat, guys. If you spam the chat, I will have to mute you. All right, hold on, guys. I just have to block somebody here. Okie dokie, that was very interesting. All right, Kenshi says Vader isn't scaring anybody. Obi-Wan should be the strongest Force user ever. Well, in Kenshi, I mean, again, like we just said, like Marvel Decoded said, we've never seen Obi-Wan be truly defeated by Vader. But come on, man, to say Vader isn't scaring anyone, I think that's an understatement. But Obi-Wan is a G, man. You got to give him his credit for sure. You got to give him his credit. Reva's acting was bad, especially the screaming. I'm just going to disagree. I think some of the lines, especially for early on, and not just for Reva, I thought a couple of the lines for Vader were like flat, like, okay. And so I think that has to do with some of the writing just falling flat. I don't think there was any real bad acting. Her screaming, I don't, again, I think that I'm not even going to get into it. I'm just going to say I ultimately disagree. I understand why there were certain lines that could have came off it like that, but it wasn't just Reva. It was multiple characters that had very flat lines from time to time. And I don't think it had anything to do with the acting, but merely the writing. Yeah, I have no idea what that troll was all about. That was strange. Fat Dad says, Reva was a dope character. When she was stoic and confident, it was felt. When she was displaying certain emotions, it fell off. I don't know. I think when I went back, and again, for those that don't know, I went back and watched all 6 episodes again, binge watched. I think her emotions make sense when you watch it all flow and when you know her motives. And I think her emotions in the last episode were done extremely well. And I was extremely convinced. Obi is supposed to be more powerful than Prime Vader, which he is supposed to be in this series. According to whom, I don't know, but I mean, I think that gets gray and gets cloudy when you realize that the dark side is extremely flawed because it's heavily bent on emotion, right? On the fear and the anger. So when you talk about who's more powerful, there's so much fear and anger in Anakin, even at that point, that blinds him. And that was the whole point of the flashbacks. And I think that's why Anakin, Darth Vader, can never, no matter how powerful he is, maybe Obi-Wan isn't as powerful, but Vader will never defeat him because he uses his blind rage and hate. And it'll never win. It'll never win against the light. That's what I got to say about my interpretation of Star Wars mythos. I thought Reva's acting and screaming were bad at first until I realized she wasn't fully a dark side character. She was just using it to get to Vader, so her tone and character were on point. Nathan, yes, and I think that's kind of what I was just trying to say. It's like when you watch it back and you understand what her motives were and what was driving her, it makes a little more sense. Yeah, Reva wasn't that badass. I mean, she wasn't. It was all an act. She was vulnerable. She was very weak, to be quite honest. I disagree. I disagree. Vader making bad decisions, letting people live, and Obi-Wan is his daddy in combat ruins the legend. I disagree because Obi-Wan was always, like I said, Obi-Wan never was defeated by Vader. Vader didn't defeat him. Obi-Wan defeated Vader by letting him strike him down. I mean, it was clearly stated. Vader letting people live shows him how much of a badass he is. Killing people is easy. Letting people sit there and suffer. But we've seen Vader kill more people in this TV show than we've ever did. Vader killed innocent children, and we saw it, basically. We didn't even see it really in Revenge of the Sith. It's Anakin before he became Vader. Yeah, whatever. We saw him go to Tatooine and kill a family. So I don't, no, I just don't agree. We saw more badassery of Vader in Disney Star Wars than we ever had. Look at Rogue One. He got into a hallway and freaking started killing everyone. Vader has killed more people under Disney than we've ever seen before. So I disagree. Comic book fanatic. I don't think this is Vader in his prime. This is still like 10 years from A New Hope. So he still has more to grow. I actually agree with that. I really do believe that this first 10 years, Vader was just getting into his position of power, maybe over the last couple of years before this, because I really think Vader had a lot of rehabilitation and training in maybe the first 5 or 6 years as Vader, because he was, I mean, remember, he's freaking like a paraplegic at this point. And it probably took a lot for him to even be able to walk and wield the Force and maneuver as a machine, so to say. So I really like this comment right here for sure. He looked embarrassed. I mean, it's the same. What we say again. You say that I'm fishing, Kenshi. You're fishing because I know damn well we won't even talk about it. But come on, between me and you, man, you're so stuck in your hate. You're so stuck in and you want needing to believe that there's an agenda going on. Vader went the first time we ever saw the Emperor in the original movies. What did Vader do? He walked up, got on his knees, and said, "What is thy bidding, my master?" So when did Vader look embarrassed? The Emperor has been scolding him. Go back to the prequels. That's all. The Emperor has Anakin / Vader eating out of the palms of his crusty hand. Oh, it's fun. It's fun stuff. Reva's not a Jedi. Darken. If Reva was, let me see. Let me read your comment first. Sorry, buddy. If Reva was a Jedi, Darth Vader would 100% have killed her, but he left her alive, like how he got left alive, holding on to the anger, which serves as a tool for the dark side. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Great point. Fat Dess's last 2 episodes, I was one back. Yep. And honestly, I think that was the point. Grand Inquisitor being killed by Reva, playing on her ambition. Yep. Cause some emotions and have people talk. And I hear you. I hear you for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anakin was more powerful than Obi-Wan at his best, but Vader wasn't. Vader's suit held him back so much. The Emperor purposefully used horrible tech for the suit because he was that's Nathan. Is that in EU somewhere? Like, is that just your interpretation, or is that actually like stated somewhere in lore or canon? I would love to know, because I love that. And it makes absolute sense. If she ended up killing Luke, the Emperor would technically have won. Yep. Comes together by the end when she is stabbed by Vader. Leia was more annoying than Anakin. That's an opinion. That's just an opinion. I'd imagine being on the dark side eventually makes you weaker and age. Can I have some help here? Hey, I mean, we know. I mean, look at. I think that's extremely, absolutely valid. I don't know about necessarily age, because I mean, there's a lot that we can argue, especially about the Sith Lord and how they take on the souls of the other Siths. So. Peter, my last point about Vader's line, it doesn't imply that they fought or that Obi chopped him up and left him burning alive. Yep, requiring the suit and then kicking his ass 10 years. Right, exactly. It's very open-ended, right? We could perceive it in so many different ways. Reva rather quickly pay attention to a Jedi to do. Not sure what you meant there, Spider Dude. Marvel Decoded. When Anakin's limbs were severed throughout the prequels, maybe that lowered the metachlorian count in his body and he actually became less powerful. Hey, that's a valid hypothesis. Yeah, Trev, I think there are upgrades to the suit, but to what extent would be a good question. Obi-Wan figured out Reva quick and knew how to work with her emotions. Many ways the Force works. Yeah, and I think that happened because he started to get to accept the Force back in. And once he did, he started really sensing everything that was going on around him. X11. I just read your comment. I won't put it on blast, but I appreciate you, man. I hear you. GC 2001. What's going on? Thanks for popping in. Okay. Denver using bad tech is in the comics. Awesome. Therion, what's going on? Thanks for popping in. In the Marvel comics, I'm pretty sure Vader wouldn't let the Emperor touch his suit. He did all the upgrades himself. Interesting. I'm sure those upgrades still were limited to obviously of what his suit could house, if that makes sense. But Anakin being tech savvy, I could see him trying to continually upgrade. Leia is a general, clearly showing signs of that as a child. Yep. Soldiers deal with death differently in the heat of battle. They keep focused on the mission, and that Louis Logic speaks to her emotion on and when Obi-Wan died in A New Hope. And I love that. That very valid, explains a lot. And I'm gonna say it again. This young actress, I hope to see her in more stuff because I think she did an absolutely amazing job. Amazing job. Brandon says Obi's a 7.0 in my opinion. And for sure. Thanks for stopping by and being here tonight. Absolutely. She also was smart enough not to tie herself to a Jedi in front of the whole world, kind of like how her mom and dad hid their relationship. Ooh, yeah. Louis coming on with the fire, man. I dig it. I absolutely dig it. So, man, guys, so I'm gonna say here, and if you guys have any other we're gonna start wrapping up here. If you guys have any more to add, I want to talk about a season 2 real quick. I think a season 2 is possible, but it has to do something different. It absolutely has to do something different. I don't think we can see another matchup of Obi-Wan and Vader. So I'm thinking it's gonna have Obi-Wan. I'm gonna be quite honest here. I don't think there should be a season 2. I think that Hayden needs to come back. I think that Ewan McGregor needs to come back. And I think we need to see more of their characters, but not in an Obi-Wan series. I think it needs to branch off, and I think we need to see their story arcs during this time period play out in the shadow of other people's series. Like, I don't know when the Ahsoka series is going to take place. Do we know that yet? I don't know if it takes place after Mandalorian or maybe during this similar time, but I definitely want to see young Luke more. I want to see more of Obi-Wan, and I want to see more of Vader. But I just don't know if it could play out as Obi-Wan being the main protagonist, if that makes sense, in his own show. That's kind of where I'm at. So I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on this. Sicko, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. All right, who is this? Barb Rogers. Disney is the death of Star Wars. They are destroying it on purpose. I disagree. I definitely disagree. Alk ALCH. Pretty damn cool seeing Qui-Gon. Absolutely. You know what? There you go. Let me say this. They could definitely look if oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Why am I blanking on his name? This is so horrible. If they get Qui-Gon back, Liam Neeson, if they get Liam Neeson back to do a show, that would be dope to see in a season 2. But again, I just don't think the focus can't be around Vader. So they would have to get creative and have to do something different, which would be interesting. I don't know. A Darth Vader series would absolutely work. A live action Darth Vader series is what I want to see. That's what I want to see next during this timeline, during this time frame. Absolutely. And you know what? We can even see maybe some more flashbacks between Ewan McGregor and Hayden in a Darth Vader series. Yeah, I'd assume they'd put it around the same time. So Kenshi, I'm going to give you a challenge. I want to hear you say one positive thing about this show before we end tonight. I want to hear you say one positive thing because you have not this whole time. Absolutely Marvel Decoded. A Vader series where Hayden keeps doing his thing. And Kenshi, I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm some big Star Wars head that knows everything about Star Wars fandom and lore and all that. But I mean, the questions that you ask, a lot of them are so easily answered because it doesn't matter how powerful they are. Seeing their master in Force Ghost is the way of the Jedi, and it's that simple. Gordon, focusing on the Maz Eisley Cantina. Lobot series. If they do a Vader series, they better come correct with the CGI. Yep, I agree. They gotta put the money and effort into it. It's gotta look better than their last feature films. I love it. Uncle Owen was good, and he was. I love seeing older Uncle Owen, and he did an amazing job. Thank you for that positive note. Peter, Uncle Owen sucked. No. Thrawn going to be on the big screen or movie series anytime? I believe so. I believe it's just a matter of time. I believe it is just a matter of time. Gordon, are you petitioning for that? Is that something that you want to see? Or you're just questioning if that's going to happen? I don't know what more they could do around that. I mean, I don't know. I think it would get redundant. Ooh, my theory is that the Ahsoka show will be her hunting Thrawn. Nice. I like that. I like that. I think if they did a Mos Eisley, something around that, I think it probably might have a lot of similar undertones to Mandalorian. And again, it wouldn't be necessarily bad. It could bring lots of care. I agree. Yep, that's a good point. That is definitely a good point. So my final take, guys. My final take. I went into the show before watching it, seeing the trailer, thinking this could be some of the best Star Wars of all time. I came out of the first few episodes feeling a little off and disappointed. I didn't know how I felt. It seemed, some of the dialogue, I didn't know where it was moving. By the fourth episode, I felt a little more pulled in. And then the fifth and sixth episode sealed the deal for me. And I left it saying, I freaking love it. In those last couple of episodes, in my humble opinion, I look at this series as a whole. I'm not going to cherry pick a couple of episodes. This was a great, great series overall. And we had some of the moments towards the end of the series are at the top of the list for best Star Wars moments on screen ever, in my humble opinion. And I want to see more from these characters. Again, it doesn't have to be in Obi-Wan season 2. I want to see these characters. I want a Vader series for sure, or a Vader film. Either or that that Disney better put their money in. Get Jon Favreau, get Filoni, get Andrew Stanton. They need to go hard with everything that they do moving forward. So those are my final words on this. I binged all 6 episodes for a second time. I'll probably do it again in another week or so. And I'll tell you guys, if you haven't watched it a second time or you haven't watched it all together, I would suggest doing it if you have some free time on your hands, because it allows you to consume it. Oh, I want to say one more thing before we end today. I really believe, while somebody said this earlier in the chat too, sometimes these properties as TV shows keeps us hanging on. And it's like, oh, I can't wait till the next week. That's how I felt about Mandalorian. Oh my God, I can't wait for next week. But sometimes it doesn't have necessarily that same feeling, and it can discombobulate the story. That's how I felt with this. And I think that it's because we're not used to consuming these things as series. I think we went into these characters and with this story wanting to consume it like we were in a theater, sitting there watching it for a couple of hours play out. And like I said, when I sat and watched it in one sitting, it worked a lot better for me. So that's where, I don't know if it's just that culturally we've consumed it in such a way for so long that that's how we're used to. And it, even on a subconscious level, maybe seems off to us. Maybe those are some elements. Who knows? But I just had to throw out that out there for food for thought. Wanna see, let's see. Louis Logic says, Ben says, my friend is truly dead. Last time they fought until the end, Obi still thought Anakin was there until Vader told him. Last time they fought, it was Obi versus Anakin until it was over. Again, very good point. Absolutely. ALCH says, seems like Luke's auntie wore the pants in the household, and I was here for it. Beru, hey, I'm all for it, man. She was a badass. She was like, I'm getting the guns and cocking and loading, man. I'm ready. So I'm down. I'm down for it. She handled her thing. When I think back and really take it in, it was a masterpiece. The whole dialogue at the end between Vader and Obi explains it perfectly. Absolutely. I agree. A Chewbacca series. We already got the life special, Life Day special surrounding Chewbacca. I don't know about a series. We did have that Chewbacca comic book for like what, 4 issues? A BB-8. The whole point of the Obi series is to launch Reva series. I disagree. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe they will launch a Reva series. I don't know. But was that the whole point of it? 100% absolutely not. Journal, I completely agree with you. Luke in Mandalorian, like in Mandalorian Rogue One, and some of the scenes from episodes 5 and 6 of Obi-Wan show are some of the best Star Wars since the original trilogy. Right on, right on. Yeah, okay. Good. Borbs, Rogers, whatever. I'm not even going to show that comment. We keep it PG-13 here. Hey, who's that guy? It was a fantastic show that I would have loved to see in the late 80s, so we could have known more of the past. Star Wars is beautiful, but not for everyone. Good point, good point. E-Dub, appreciate you being here for sure. Yep. So I'm going to end it on this, folks. I appreciate everyone keeping it humble for the most part, and expressing our points of views. But I'm going to say something before I leave. Art is subjective, and we need to remember that, guys. We're not going to like the same things. Some things that we love, other people are going to hate, and some things that we hate, we're going to love. And that's okay. And my door is always one that's going to be open for anyone that thinks differently when it comes to art and the subjective nature of it. But I'll say this today. It's very clear that there are people that hate women so much and hate black and brown people showing up in Star Wars so much that they literally sit there and sulk in their hate. And it doesn't matter. I guarantee you some of these people are watching the show and actually enjoy it. But then they'll go turn on Geeks and Gamers and all these people that just are filled with racism and misogyny and hate. And they listen to them, and it gives them credibility and validation. And then anytime they see a black person in Star Wars, anytime they see a woman in Star Wars, they're just going to hate it because they hate themselves when they look in the mirror. So, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I feel sorry for you guys. And if that's how you think, my channel probably ain't a place for you. So go ahead and go cry to Jeremy. And I'll pray for you guys. Because I wear my St. Christopher. And I'll tell you, man, it's a bitch to live with that type of hate in your heart. So I pray for you all. But God, man, is there some sick people in this world? So, hey, man, power to the people. Power to all women, black, brown, minority people. I stand with y'all.